Hey. Time for another out-of-this-world story from rSpace. Never settle for less than you deserve. There's always someone out there who will love and respect you more. Today on rSpace, just another statistic. Up first, an OP looking for a second chance at love. I ghosted a cheating ex-wife. Years later, I married my child's nanny. And now I'm a statistic and a trope. But I am so happy. I really struggled about making this post because my divorce is still a great source of anger at times. Not much as it used to be, but it really triggers my negative brain. But my therapist told me that it helps to write a journal. My ex-wife and I had a 2-year relationship. We had our son before we married, and I really tried hard to be a good husband and father. Starting as an introvert meant that I really had to start from scratch, but I can honestly say I did my best to learn. My ex and I were total opposites, and maybe opposites attracted in the beginning. But then we started to butt heads a lot. My ex-wife, I learned, hated to compromise and would use bullying and gaslighting tactics to get her way. She was a spender and wanted to splurge on things because she thought that she deserved it. Looking back, she wasn't really a good mom or wife. She was very self-centered and spent more time on her phone than with me or my son. I took care of everything, including my son's hospital and etc. And she didn't want any more responsibility, while I was being burnt out from all the work and responsibilities. The last straw was when she was cheating on me with her ex. Both of us knew that infidelity was not acceptable from the beginning and a deal breaker. As soon as I learned, I knew that I needed to leave or start a fight. So I carefully planned how I was going to leave. I found a house to rent 2 hours away from where we were. I work remotely, so that wasn't an issue. I removed myself from the apartment lease and all of the utilities, removed myself from the joint account that we had, and moved while wife went to leave for some facial therapy. Before I left her with divorce papers with copies of evidence that I also sent to her family members exactly at the same time the moving company and I left our old apartment. I blocked her on everything I could. Basically, I left everything in 6 hours. After I moved everything into my new place, I was bombarded by texts and calls from her side of the family. Mostly I got apologies from her cousins since they knew from the beginning what might happen. Her mom apologized a lot, saying that she didn't raise her daughter well, and both her and my ex's aunt begged me to reconsider the divorce. Then I started getting messages of threats and insults from my ex at a different number. I just kept blocking those, but it got so bad that I just got a new phone. The divorce was slightly rough because of my ex. My ex tried to say that I kidnapped my son and tried to sue me, but I presented all the facts, that I was the one solely responsible for everything at home and for our son's health, speech therapy, etc. The judge was surprisingly understanding and said that since I was the primary care provider for my son, he dismissed my ex's claim. And then I present all the evidence of my ex's infidelity, including all the money she spent. I even got the affair partner to confess. Long story short, the affair partner still lived with his parents, and I threatened to sue him for alienation of affection unless he confessed. It was a long shot, to be honest, but he caved in. Because of all the evidence, I was given almost all of my money. I just had to pay my ex a little bit of alimony for a year since she quit her work. And during custody, I was rewarded primary custody with my ex getting supervised visitation. She only got that because of all the threatening messages that she sent me. She literally shot herself in the foot. It was so bad for her because I now lived 2 hours away from her by car, and she couldn't drive. So she didn't even visit my son for months until she got her cousin to drive her. I didn't really realize how bad it was until only after I started living by myself and my son. I felt like a huge weight was off my shoulders, and I felt at peace with myself. So I decided to make the best of this change. I still worked at home, and because of my son's autism, I was able to get a care provider to care for my son and get an ABA therapist to help his therapy at home. It was so much better than I can't describe in words. My ex shifted tactics after a few months of seeing my son, saying that she regretted her actions and wanted to be a better person for me and my son. But I wasn't having it. One time she came with her luggage and tried to move in, but I refused and called the cops. Everything from gaslighting to crying and everything to get her way again. So I told her to never come back. I even got the judge to deny her visitation since she tried to force her way into moving in a few times. She then started love bombing me with texts. She even got her mom and aunt to help her, but since that was still with my old phone, I just ended up giving it up to a cell phone disposal for a chunk of change. Then about 1 school year passed, and my son's care provider and I got really close. She was very sweet and gentle, so much different from my ex. She was so helpful and thoughtful and so positive, but she was 11 years younger than me. Back then I was 30 and she was 19, going to nursing school, so I didn't make any advances. But one day when my son was down for his nap, she cooked for me a wonderful meal and we ate together. and she confessed to being attracted to me. She told me that she wanted to date me for real. I initially thought that it wasn't going to be that smooth since respite care providers have rules about fraternization and getting close with clients, and the age gap was certainly an issue. But she said that she would quit her provider work if she had to. I told her I needed time to think and process. My divorce really had shattered my desire to date anyone, but I was so attracted to her. So I told her that I would like to do this slowly and properly. And 4 years of dating and her graduating and becoming a full-time nurse, we tied the knot. I learned from my past mistakes and decided to be a much better husband to her. And thanks to her vivaciousness, that wasn't hard to do. My son even called her mom now. In fact, the first time he did that was when I knew I had to marry her. And I admit I took the relationship very slowly because I wanted to be careful. Strangely enough, I'm still close with my ex's cousins. They're all old school, and while they care for my ex, they respect me even more and always ask about my son and how I'm doing. All of them are either firefighters and military, so they don't play. They even invite my family and I to vacation with them. And now the sore portion that still makes me angry, my ex. She somehow found out my wife a few years back and confronted her at her freaking nurse school. That really scared my now wife, and I nearly punched her when I came to break up the situation. My now wife and I filed more restraining orders against her, and now my ex is now not allowed to be anywhere near my family, even our son. She can only video chat with him now, or have supervised visitation in a place of our choosing. After our divorce finalized, she returned back to work and got herself living alone. Over the years, she tried to get her cousins to convince me to help her, but they just straight up refused. Even her mom and aunt gave her up. Our last talk with each other, she told me what she could have done to have gotten me back, and I jokingly said that she would have to join the military to learn some discipline, and she actually did join, only to be kicked out for some disciplinary reason or something. Now she is just passive-aggressive, posting on social media about forgiveness, second chances, and how modern women are victims, and some of her followers actually believe her lies. My current wife told me not to worry about it. She is so kind and understanding, knowing that I have so many trust issues and such. We are planning to have our first child together soon, and I want to do things better this time. I guess the moral of the story that I want to tell every betrayed man is there is always someone who will love and respect you more than your current spouse. Don't settle for anything less. Trying to move back in? It's like she thought she could hit the reset button on your relationship without even asking if it was okay. Too little, too late. It's almost like she thought you'd open the door and say, "Oh, great, you're back. I missed all the chaos." Well, and I'm not surprised she got kicked out for disciplinary reasons when all she did was gaslight you throughout your marriage. Too bad she didn't realize that getting kicked out of the military for discipline issues is just a different kind of failure to launch. And the irony that her ex-affair partner caved under your threats is priceless. But hey, it sounds like you found your happy ending with someone who brings real positivity into your life. What do you think? Do you think OP handled this well? Next up, swiping left never felt so good for our next OP. My 27 male, girlfriend 22 female, of a year slept with another guy while we were taking it slow, a month into dating me. I have been with this girl I'll call Jess for close to a year now. Since specifics matter here, we started dating around last Thanksgiving, but it was only about a month later when we said we were in an official relationship. I really liked this girl from the get-go, and we've gotten very close since then, and we're actually planning on moving together soon. Here's a problem. Recently, Jess and I ran into a guy at a small get-together with mutual friends. They exchanged a weird look like there was something between them, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. During the party, something came up about the place Jess went to for a date. The time was clear since it was Christmas market in my town. And again, I thought something was off about the guy. Well, later that night, I actually got a text from him. He got my number from one of the mutual friends, but said, "Hey, I don't know you, but I thought you should know that Jess and I hooked up night after Christmas." I confronted Jess about this, and I could tell she tensed up right away. She got this sad look on her face, but confessed right away. She said that she met this guy on Tinder and hooked up a couple of times, but stopped any contact before we became official. She said she wasn't sure we would get into a relationship at the time, but she still felt bad about that I found out this way. She said she considered telling me, but was afraid it would ruin things between us. I told her I needed some time to think and proceeded to get drunk that night and ignored her texts. The thing is, I feel very betrayed and I'm really considering ending things. Sure, we weren't official when this happened, but we had already been on multiple dates at the time, and I thought it was pretty clear that we were moving towards a full-fledged relationship. On my side, I had no interest in pursuing other girls at that point because I only wanted to be with Jess. And on her end, she was definitely hinting at us evolving into a couple and strongly hinting at exclusivity. The other part that kills me is that during this early stage, Jess specifically said she wanted to take things slow physically until we knew each other better. But during the same time, she hooks up with a guy she barely knew from Tinder? When I asked her about this, she said it's different because she took it slow with me specifically because she thought we would get into a relationship, but it was somehow different with a casual hookup. That logic makes zero sense to me. I don't really want to talk about this with my friends because I think they would hate Jess if we ended up staying together, but I would like to hear opinions on here. Would you stay in a relationship like this if things were going well but the beginning was so shady? Ask for opinions and we'll get some. First opinion. In my opinion, if you're dating someone and moving towards a serious relationship, you don't freaking bang other people. This would be a deal breaker for me. But you do you, man. If you can't get past it, then end it. The OP replies, yeah, that's how I feel as well. It would have been one thing if she was just talking to other guys in the early stages while we were still defining things. Of course, that's fine and normal. But it feels like a slap in the face that she found another guy to sleep with after we had already gone on quite a few dates and I made it clear I thought we were moving towards a serious relationship, which she seemed to also acknowledge. There's no way she didn't know I would feel hurt that she did that. The OP also added to a deleted comment. Yeah, her logic made no sense to me. She tried to explain that with guys, she wants to be in a relationship she wants to feel special and wants to build an emotional connection. But for guys she sees no future with, she sometimes just wanted some physical fun that meant nothing. But I just can't wrap my mind about that. It feels like a gut punch that as we were getting closer and building a connection, she didn't want to be intimate with me, but instead preferred to find someone else. No matter how she rationalizes it, it's hard not to feel like a second choice of sorts. It's almost impressive how she managed to mix up exclusivity with a side of casual hookups. Maybe she thought the term taking things slow was a culinary reference, like slow roasting a relationship while quickly seasoning it with random Tinder dates. If you're looking for a clear answer, it would be to get out of there as soon as possible. If she's not willing to follow her own rules from the start, she's never going to. Update, 23 days later. As the title says, I decided to break up with Jess. I kept going back and forth because I was worried I was throwing away a great thing over something that happened in the past. But the problem is, I thought I really wouldn't be able to get past it. I can't help what she did was really crappy. Yeah, I know that technically she did not cheat, but she knew that I wanted a relationship and that we were potentially moving in that direction. But meanwhile, she expected me to plan and pay for interesting dates, court her, and prove that I was worthy of her while she happily hooked up with randos who basically did nothing but show an interest in screwing. F that. In a follow-up conversation, it also came up that her friends guilted her to act like this, that she should basically allow herself to have fun and to keep her casual options open, but with me to make me work for it and show that I wasn't just looking for sex, but was capable of becoming a committed partner. The whole thing just seemed so manipulative and ugly, and these were also mutual friends who I consider to be nice girls and now my friends as well. Now I never want to see any of those pieces of crap ever again. Anyway, I know this is starting to sound a bit like a rant, but I felt pretty pissed off and basically called it quits. The actual breakup was actually quite unpleasant. No harsh words were exchanged, but Jess cried and we kind of talked about some happy times. I guess that's the hardest part about this. Like, I don't think she is a bad girl and maybe we could have had a nice future together like we did over the past few months. But in the end, I do think I made the right decision. I want to be with someone who treats me well from the get-go, not someone who manipulates me while playing games just so she can have her cake and eat it too. She just wanted the cake and a full 5-course meal. You made the right call, OP. If nothing else, you've learned that dating Jess was like trying to win a game where the rules keep changing. So long, Jess. See you never again. What would you have done? And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.